Hey there, Affinity Studio 3 is a great piece of software. In this video, I'm going to show you all of the basics, all of the fundamentals you need to know to start using it. So here we are, and by default, you will land in the vector mode. That's right, there are different modes, different studios, or some still call them personas. That was always a selling point for Affinity. What does it mean? Right now I'm in the vector mode, so I see all of the tools for editing vectors, almost like CorelDRAW or Adobe Illustrator. But with just one click, I can click on Pixel, and now my tool panel change. And it's most suitable for photo editing, pixel-based editing. I can move forward to layouts. Now it's all about changing layouts, adding pages, making multi-page publications. And the last one, a new addition, some AI tools. Keep in mind, we can modify them. We can add more studios, more modes, you could say. Or you can switch the one you don't plan on using. So I can switch off Canva AI if that's something that bothers you, and it's gone. Let's keep it as the default, those 4 different studios. Keep in mind, I may call them personas because that was the name for last 8 years, so I may stick to that. So the first persona or the first studio is all about editing vectors. And in here, the very first tool is a move tool. It's impossible to show you what is this tool all about without the object. So let's just jump ahead a bit and draw a simple shape. So right now I'm in the shape tool. We will come back to it a moment later. So I'm drawing a shape. You can hold Shift for perfect 1-to-1 proportion. I jump to the right side of the screen to my color wheel to change the main color and also kick off the stroke color, the line around. All right, so with our move tool, we can now make changes to that shape. We can stretch it. We can add rotation to it. If you hold Shift, it will be jumping every 5 or 10 degrees based on your setup. All right, and as you can see, there's a contextual menu at the top. So each tool will have a different tool menu at the top here. This will always change based on the selected tool. So remember that the move tool is for moving whole objects. But there's another tool called node tool. This one may look very similar, but it's not for moving the whole object. It's actually for moving only a node in that object. So in case of this oval, I can move certain nodes that are like building points for the object. I can adjust them. I can even hit delete on my keyboard and remove them. I can click on the line to add a new node and keep remodeling that original shape. We can convert those nodes to sharp nodes. There will be spiky nodes like this, or smooth nodes that we can control the curve using those additional node points, anchor points. As you can see, the menu at the top is different again. So feel free to explore it. As this is the quick start video, we are not going to click on every single button. To remove the object, I will hit delete and it's gone. So move tool, node tool, what's next? That's an artboard tool. This tool can help you to add additional pages to your design. Now I got 2 different pages and I could export this as PDF with 2 pages, or I could simply use them separately to keep all of stuff in one project on multiple pages. I got some older projects that got like 30-40 artboards, and the program is still stable and running just fine. So it's really good way for bigger projects, or to keep, let's say I got one document when I keep like 30 different YouTube thumbnails. So I just adding new artboards to the same document and I still got all of the old thumbnails there to use as the reference, or just copy and paste some elements. So that's like for adding new pages. All right, what next? There's a weird tool, point transform tool. This tool will help us to make certain transformations. As you can see, I can move the point to any area, and with this tool I can rotate around that point, and I can also scale it. It got a certain use, and keep in mind you can hold Shift to lock yourself in like one dimension. What's next? Corner tool. This one will help you to round corners. I managed to round one corner, but I can actually use it on all of the corners. Just select all of them like this. There are few modes to this tool, and that's kind of a bit hidden feature, so people tend to ignore that, but instead of rounding your corners, you can make them like concave, like that. And it's going to be really, really handy. If I scale my object, the rounded corners, or concave in my case, they will stay in the same size. So if you want to bake them into the object, don't forget to click Bake Appearance. And now this is just a regular vector shape that can be modified with the Node tool. Alright, what next? There's a contour tool that will help us to generate a smaller or larger version of existing shape. Just like that. There is a stroke width tool, and now it's time to mention that in the vector mode, objects tend to have two properties. One is the fill color and one is the stroke color. So take a look. If I draw this triangle, I can change the fill color, but there's also this ring. Ring represents a stroke color around the object. We can increase the size of the stroke in the stroke panel. Alright, so with the stroke we can modify the width of it as well. So take a look. I can make it fat here and very slim on this side. So we can make it a bit more organic, just like that. Next one will be a fill tool that will help us to put some gradients in. And there's also transparency tool that can make part of the object transparent. As you may notice, gradients and transparency tool works live, so we don't need to guess, we can see the results straight away while using the tool. There's a proper text tool in two forms: artistic text for the short text, and there's also a text frame. In case you got a longer text to paste, you draw the frame first and then you can paste or type in the text into that frame. Text also got properties like color and stroke. We can force the stroke outside. Clicking here, that's usually a better choice for text. Moving forward, there's also a place tool for adding images here, but you can simply drag and drop them as well. And now we are in the vector drawing area, when you can use pen tool to draw a custom shape. Just remember to go to the beginning, so you can close the shape and fill it with color easily. If that was not your intention, you just want to draw a line, not a closed shape, you can still use pen tool. Just click escape and you will end up with a simple line. Remember about the node tool, we can always go back to the node tool and make necessary changes and even add additional node. There's a fill color here, but we can change it to transparent. That's better for a single line. Alright, and there's also a very similar tool called pencil tool. And this tool gives you a similar experience, but it's more like freehand. So the pencil tool is easier to use than pen tool. You can kind of remember this way. By the way, I put the wrong color here. I plan to put stroke color, but I put it in the fill color. No worries, I can click this little arrow and swap colors between stroke and fill. You can also use this quick sample tool to sample the color from your artboard already. So you can use that. Instead of picking the color, click and hold, pick this one, and it's done. All right, what's next? There's a shape builder tool that helps us to merge different shapes together. So if I got two different shapes, let's clean up a bit. I got those two different shapes. If I select both and then use the shape builder tool, I can use the plus mode to add certain elements together and make a brand new shape. Enter, and we got brand new shape. If I use minus mode, I can actually destroy this part and this part, and only this left. I can also use intersect mode as well, and this one will create a brand new shape on the top of that selection. So if I select this and this, I will not make any changes to the existing shapes. It's just making brand new shape. Alright, so this tool is actually very powerful. I make videos about this tool only in the past, and I will make an updated version for version 3 as well. But keep in mind, it's really handy. Just under, there's another tool hidden, like a bucket tool for vector fill. So if I got, let's say, 3 not connected lines, I cannot fill this area of color easily. But if I select those 3 lines and the bucket tool, then I will be able to make a new shape out of this area. Take a look. This can save you some headache. And of course, from now on, this will work as a proper vector shape. So I can now easily modify this moving forward. We got a proper QR code tool when we can paste the link at the top and draw a proper QR code. Try to make them with the good contrast to the backdrop. So that's your free QR code tool. And then is the proper shape tool. And the shape tool is really good in Affinity because we got so many ready to use shapes, and some of them come with control points, special control points. So take a look. If I draw a star, you will see those orange points that I can pull to modify the appearance of the star. Let's not forget about the top bar here that can be also used to modify how the shape will look like. And very quickly from the star, we move to some kind of badge-like shape. So that's pretty cool. We got color picker and style picker for picking colors and certain style, special effects. There's a pan tool when you can pan the camera around, but I prefer to just press and hold spacebar for that. We got zoom tool that again I never use because I prefer command plus, command minus, or control plus, control minus. Next, there is a tool for measuring distances or areas. That's super handy if you're doing some kind of maps. We got the last tool on the list called vector crop tool, when we can crop elements just like that. So the part of the element is still there, but it's cropped with the vector mask. Alright, so here are the most important tools in the vector area of the program. Keep in mind, you can customize your tool panel as well and your toolbar. If you click those 3 dots at the bottom, you'll be able to change from one default column to 2 like I did, and move some tools around to customize this experience. Let's move to the pixel mode. In this mode, we can work on images, on pixels. So this mode is more like a Photoshop experience. Usually in Photoshop experience, we don't need additional pages. So let me just click on Artboard 2 and hit delete on my keyboard. It's gone. I will drag and drop a sample image. Here it is. My image is a bit too large comparing to my artboard, but there's also a move tool in this mode so I can scale it down. What if the artboard is too large? In that case, we cannot change the artboard from the pixel mode. We need to jump back to vector mode. And that's the powerful part. You can jump between those modes, between those studios in any given moment. And you don't need to wait for any loading time, open another software. You can just jump back here, head to your artboard tool, and you can modify certain aspects. Or in our case, we can use the default transform panel here. With the artboard selected, we can push this up and done. All right, we are back in the pixel mode. The pixel mode is this violet color. And in this mode, we can select pixels from the image. So be sure that the image is selected in the layer panel. And then we can head to our very first tool, object selection tool. This tool will analyze the object for a moment, kind of the subject of your image, and help you select certain objects. You can switch to a brush selection style when you can have a bit of more manual control, like I'm using the brush like that. You can change the size of the brush with brackets on your keyboard. That's what I like to do. Just using brackets on your keyboard, you can very quickly modify the size of the brush and make what we call a quick selection. Is it a perfect selection? No. Is it quick? Yes. And with the selection like that, you can click refine. And from here, you can mark the background. So I left some green here, but I can refine it now in this post-selection process. And then we need to decide about output. So we can make a selection or we can make a mask. Let's select a mask, apply, and we create some kind of mask out of that selection. If you want to delete what is selected, you simply hit backspace on your keyboard and then you delete those pixels. Let's undo. What if you make selection and you don't need it anymore? You can click Command D to deselect. Command D, deselect. Don't left stray selections around. Moving down, we got a few more different selection options, like a classic lasso, shape selections, and all of that is for us to select certain pixels of our layer. Speaking of layers, it's very handy to make a duplicate or existing layer. So we can just right click and select duplicate. This way we can make a copy of the layer. If you want to hide a layer, click the eye icon next to it. There is a fill tool and a gradient fill tool as well, but take a look. Right now I got my layer selected, so I kind of mixing this gray gradient with the original image. Let's make a brand new layer for that. That's better. Of course, we can change color of the gradient. And as you can see, you can even modify it in the live mode. So we don't need to guess, we can move it around. We could change the blending mode for the pixel layer of the gradient, opening here, and experiment with how those different colors will blend depending on different blending mode. Next, a very classic brush. Brush can be handy. And again, I'm making a brand new layer for the brush. It's small, so we can change the size. We can set up the color for the brush, and we can start brushing around. Keep in mind, there are different brushes that we can use. Let's head to the brush panel and see all those categories. We can select a brush like that. It looks more like artistic, and the effect will be different. So there's whole brush selection here on the right side around your layers area. Sometimes we need to erase something, and there is an eraser tool here as well. Keep in mind, it's a distractive way of erasing pixels. There are two special eraser tools here as well. One is for backdrops, and the last one is like a area eraser tool. There are more tools that operate similar to a brush. Some of them can give us adjustments, but only in that area we are brushing. Keep in mind, we need to select what kind of adjustment do you want to do in that area. For example, black and white. And now I can brush here, and this brush area is now adjustment from black and white. It's non-destructive adjustment, so that's great. I can switch the visibility on and off, or I can delete it from the layer panel. Similar to adjustment brush, we can also grab a filter brush, and this way we can select the area of the image that will be affected by certain filter. I got my Gaussian blur filter active right now, so that will be a perfect way to make a partially blur. But there are all of the other filters to our disposal, like this pixelate filter. And again, it's non-destructive, it's all in the layer panel. We can get rid of those filters by deleting them from the picture. So I can delete this filter, I can delete this one. Nice. That's kind of the highlight of the pixel mode. Many of those filters and adjustments are non-destructive. There's a stamp tool, an undo brush tool. We got in-painting brush that can be used to kind of fix some small problems in the picture, almost like cover up something. Take a look, it disappeared, disappeared, disappeared. In-painting brush, that's very handy. And similar healing tools, you can say. So we got healing brush tool, path tool. There's also blemish removal tool when we can fix some small stuff, imperfections. Again, very similar. And red eye removal tool. All of that is kind of under this in-painting brush. So some of tools are grouped. We need to open and see the group. Take a look, I guessed from the vector mode. So we got pen tool and node tool, and it's totally useless now because we can jump back to vector mode in any moment, and we got full array of vector tools. So it's more like artifact from the Affinity Photo times. Same for the shape tool, text tool, and color picker tool. There's also a style picker as well. All right, and then we move to the layout mode. That's the orange one. That's more like publishing software. So we can here add multiple pages. We can set up master page. We can flow the text through those pages. We can set up text frames and all of that stuff. So take a look. It's more like for publishing multi-page documents. So let's get rid of some of those elements. So we got more space to draw a frame for a text. So this mode is very handy if you've got a long text. In my case, I would just put a sample text in. Here it is, and then you can draw another frame, and you can link this frame to that one. So the text flow from one box to another. Then you can make spaces for your picture. So this is called picture frame, when you draw a space, when you can easily put the picture in later just by clicking replace image. All right, so as you can guess, this one is the one that you want to use when you got multiple pages publications. You want to make this long PDF with many pages, and you're adding pictures and text on them. There is a frame for text, a frame for image. There's a proper table tool as well, so we can make tables here. And take a look at the top. We got a very handy panel that may look a bit like something you are familiar with from like Microsoft Office or Google Docs. So we can change the size of the font, the style of the font, the color of the font. So it's a bit similar to those office programs, you could say. All right, what's next? There's a artistic text for headers, a pen tool again. So there's a pen tool in each studio, shape tool, and we got a picture frame, oval picture frame, place image. We got data merge. This is a bit more advanced tool when we are pulling data from outside sources like a list of names or pictures. When you, let's say, setting up a document that can pull phone numbers and names from the Excel file and generate you 100 business cards. So definitely not something for a quick start video. There is a vector crop tool again, a filter with the gradient in it, transparency tool, and color picker. So as you can see, those tools are not very impressive. They're a bit similar to vector mode. So why do we need this layout mode? That's mostly for managing pages. Take a look, we've got this brand new page manager with all of the pages here, and we can also set up master pages here. So we can create a master page that will kind of give the design properties to all of other pages, so colors, fonts, certain elements. So that would be super handy when we are doing like 200 page long books. There are also other panels like assets and stocks that we can access from here. Actually, you can access assets and stocks on other layouts as well. You just need to tinker a bit with window and view options to turn on certain panels. So if I go to window general, I can turn on assets. Here it is. Now I got floating window with assets. I can dock it here, and it looks like a layout mode here. So that's something we can modify. So keep in mind the program is very fluid, and we can modify the workspace to match your needs. So again, vector mode like Illustrator, pixel mode a bit like Photoshop, layout is for publications and managing multiple pages. And there's also this Canva AI. This studio required you to have a Canva Pro subscription for most of the tools. So you need to upgrade and pay monthly fee to access those AI tools in this panel. If you are a long-term user of Affinity, you may remember there was usually one more panel called Export Persona. So we can actually go and turn on Slice panel. And this Slice panel works a bit like the Export Persona when you got very limited tools, but we are focusing on those export options on the right when we can select certain layers, artboards, and modify how we're going to export them, and then you can export them all at once. All right, so that's something you may add if you are a long-term user and you want to have experience similar to what you got before. So you can got vector, almost like Affinity Designer, pixel, that was our Affinity Photo, Affinity Publisher, that's layout, and Export Persona, that's Slice. All right, so I'm very briefly just touch upon different tools from those different workspaces. I mentioned about the color wheel that can help us to recolor certain objects like text or shapes. We got two properties, fill color and stroke color. Below that there is our proper layer panel when we can see each layer, and if you hover your mouse you will also get the name of the property of that layer. So there are different types of layers like frames, text, shapes, and pixel layers, and a few more. If you got messy documents, you can also group some layers by selecting them together with Shift. We can do that, right click, and we can group them. In that case, you will see this folder-like thing when you can open and close to see what layers are inside, and feel free to name it to organize your file a bit better. There's a transform box, but we can double tap on it to close it and get a bit more space for our layer panel. At the end of your work with the program, very often we want to export some kind of results. So in that case, we can head to File and to Export, and again select Export. You will see multiple export formats here on the left, and you can also decide which artboard do you want to export, which page do you want to export. Maybe you want to export whole document, or maybe only a selection that is active right now. All of this is here, and then we tap on Export. You can export everything from PDF to SVG to a regular JPEG. Alright, I hope this will be a good start for you, and don't forget to follow my channel for more in-detail tutorials when we're going to tackle certain tools and learn how to get certain effects in Affinity version 3. See you in the next one.